Hey subscribers, welcome to a review of last week's Season 5 finale between the Dark Eldar and the Slaanesh army. Season 5 has been a very long season as far as getting everything together. I've tried a lot of different story elements and a lot more work for me anyway, doing video editing and stuff like that. So I've had to go to a 3-week schedule, putting a battle up every 3 weeks, but that's the format that fits with me at the moment. Anyway, so Season 5 finale, we've got 3 components of this battle. We saw it last week. We've got Slaanesh versus a Dark Eldar army to start with, followed by a combination of Custodes and Eldar versus more Slaanesh, and then a small little skirmish in a Space Hulk to finish it off. So here we are at the start of the deployment phase for the first part of the first battle, and I've got all the models basically set out on the board, so I'll just have a quick run over as to how it sits at the moment. Okay, so here we are in the deployment phase. I've finished doing the story elements where the characters have basically taken their positions on the board, and these are the setup parts of the board. We've got the Slaanesh army led by Joe Hercules. He doesn't really look like Joe Hercules anymore, but that's part of the storyline, so you'll have to follow that if you haven't already looked at the previous battles in this series. But this is his mustered Slaanesh army, or most of it anyway. You saw it last week. He has a few leftovers that come in and try and do a battle in the second phase of this battle. But anyway, most of the armor's out here, so we've got like Rhinos, Land Raiders, Bikers, Dreadnoughts. We've got some Demonettes up here and some infantry there, but mostly it's really armour. We've got the Bane Blade over this side, a Greater Demon, and a couple of units there. The main reason for this is that all the infantry basically has to be in the Rhinos because it won't really fit on the board otherwise. But anyway, that's what we have. So in reserve we've got various groups here which are sitting in Rhinos. Forget about those Custodes, they're not in this part of the battle. Over this side we've got some Terminators and Obliterators over this side of the board, so you can't really get too much of a look at those just yet. Those are the Deep Strikers. On the other side, the Dark Eldar side, we've got 2 sides of the board that they come from, coming in there. Very mobile army, as they should be, but this is one side of it there. This is the supposed Dark Eldar Titan that's obviously not in the codexes, or the indexes, but in the storyline nonetheless. And over this side we've got another group here. So that's just a brief rundown of the deployment. We've got all these groups over here. These are grouped into correspond to various transports. That's why they're in their separate groups. And we've got various deep striking units that will come in later on. So that's the Dark Eldar reserves. Dark Eldar have 2 sides of the board, Slaanesh 1. Anyway, that's what we have, and that's the deployment phase. We'll see what happens in turn 1. Hey subscribers, here we are at the end of the first half of turn 1, and Slaanesh have had their turn, and you can see by the layout of all this heavy armour here that they've really focused heavily on trying to take out that Titan there. Really held up fairly well, that Titan. It took a lot of fire from las cannons, battle cannons, just about anything in the arsenal been thrown at it. It's still walking around, and it will no doubt cause some difficulty in the next turn or two for the Slaanesh army. Over this side we had Joe Hercules. I'm really not sure I should really call it Joe Hercules, just it's not right. But that'll all change shortly. By the time you would have seen this video, you would have known that Joe Hercules I don't know what the word is, changes back to his normal form, or his partial normal form from that. So Joe's tucked itself behind this Bane blade here. The Bane blade fired, took out 3 Reaver bikes, and then we had some extra fire and one what was taken out. There we go, those are the 3 bikes that were taken out, and also that vehicle at the back there was taken out as well. So normally don't get too many casualties in my games in the first turn, but obviously with the extended range of some of those battle cannons, they can take some casualties in turn 1. The rhinos over this side moved into position, just leading the way. There's not a lot of cover here on this board, so the rhinos are basically mobile cover, so they're leading the charge there. There's demons and infantry coming up the rear. Over this side of the board, really there's not a lot that's actually happened. The bikers have moved on up into the lead, again trying to take out this Titan, but hasn't taken it out just yet. So that's really all we have for the first half of turn 1. We'll wait and see what happens in the next half turn. Here we are at the end of the second half of turn 1. You'll have to forgive me if I skip a few things here, because it's about 2 AM and it's taken me pretty much all day to do this part of the turn. We've had the Dark Eldar have their move, so I started off over this side of the board, and all these transports, raiders, ravagers, everything basically have moved out, and really didn't take out a lot of casualties, to be honest. We had all these skiffs basically come out and take out a rhino that was just there. Now it's just popped out with its contents being some Slaanesh noise marines. Over this side we had some racks basically move across the board, trying to get into close combat. Likewise, some of these units up the back as well have moved up and around, trying to secure the middle part of this board with all those barriers there. We've still got a lot of deep striking units to come out, so the Dark Eldar have basically tried to just take that position. Moving across the board, we've had the Titan come out and one hit the Land Raider. It's taken quite a few hits, but it's tough as nuts, so it'll hold up pretty well. Over this side, this rhino down here took a bit of fire from a couple of Dark Lancers, and still holding up pretty well behind that rocky protection area there. Over here we had the engines, paint engines, basically jump over back behind there, trying to get out into this middle section. Like I said, witches just jumped this barrier and are taking that position as well. Really got caught up in this traffic jam of Dark Eldar skiffs. So even though that's not a lot that's happened this turn, oh no, we did have the Defiler in the middle. These are the casualties up here. Had the Defiler there, the Rhino, Land Raider, and one solitary guy there. Get a bit of a look at him. So the Defiler was in the middle here and got taken out by combined fire from both sides there. So it could have been a lot worse for the Chaos Marines. It's only turn 1, it could have been all over, but they've still got a lot of heavy firepower left and a fair bit of deep strike. So that's what we've got at the end of turn 1. Turn 2 coming up shortly. here we are at the end of the first half of turn 2, and we've seen some deep striking. It's a Slanesh turn, so that was the deep strikers there. There's only been one unit that's deep striked. It's deep stricken, deep strike, don't know. Anyway, it was the Obliterators. They decided to pitch down on this tower here and took a shot at the Tantalus. I'm not really good with pronunciation as such, but anyway. Over this side we had all this armour here try and take down the Titan. It is basically holding some ground there. Obviously pretty hard to take down the Titan. We also had the combined attacking of just a group of Marines there and one Dreadnought just up the back there. These are all the casualties. Oh, there's also some deep striking units, but anyway, all that's mostly casualties. Moving over this side, we had some bikers move up here and fire into the witches. Pretty much halve that unit, really, with a combined firepower from this unit of Marines here. So there, that's how that sits. Demonettes and a Demon Prince basically just hid behind this group of Marines and that little plant there. Dreadnoughts and all this armour fired into a big pile of different transports and heavy weaponry from the Dark Eldar side. I wanted to took out the Reaper. Is it the Reaper? The back there. Also, it took out another Raider, I believe. Anyway, let's move on. So moving over this side of the board, we had Joe Hercules. It really feels, I really can't call that thing Joe Hercules, but anyway, it's not going to be like that for much longer. But anyway, he or she just moved up behind this tower here, ready to get involved. Likewise, the Greater Demon moved up here. This Rhino pulled a U-turn, basically came in and tried to take out one Raider, but it required the firepower from this unit of Marines here to take it out. Popped it open and out come a bunch of warriors. So that's looking fairly exposed, that Rhino there, but it did its job to its point. Meanwhile, it's actually full to the brim of Marines, so you know they'll cause some havoc there at some stage. So really a lot of casualties on the Dark Eldar side. Oh, we also had this Dreadnought here come up and take out a Vedum, I think it is. Gee, I'm going to get pasted by you guys just for not knowing the names of stuff. But he got taken out. Anyway, and also that last group over here of Marines just sitting behind that little bunker area, ready to take other things out. Actually, those guys there took out 3 bikers that were sitting there, so the bikers are gone as well. So they really carved a fair bit out of that Dark Eldar side. Look, there's not too much in the way of armour on this side. There's still a lot of infantry up the back here, ready to get involved. And I suppose from the Chaos perspective, it was probably intended that a lot of these things were supposed to come out of reserve this turn. You know, these Obliterators and these Terminators. Terminators just there. They're supposed to come out, and I guess the intention there is they can really try and contest this area up the back here, but the Dark Eldar have pretty much secured that at this stage. No doubt those guys will start spilling out and come into here, and they'll secure that side of the board and have some good protection, good cover to use. Anyway, that's all we've got for the first half of turn 2. We've got the second half coming up shortly. Okay, so here we are at the end of turn 2. The Dark Eldar have had their turn, and the board is pretty much full of most of the models. We still have a few warriors just in their groups over here ready to come from reserves. And for the Slaanesh army, we've got a couple of groups of Terminators and a couple of Obliterators. If people are watching the video from last week, I'd like to know what they think of the video, the quality of the pictures. I've got this thing here, which is a ring flash. It's I'll get the box out here first. I'll show you what it is. It's this thing here. It's that. I think it works great. Just a ring flash. It shakes all the shadows out of the photos. So we'll wait and see how the video compiles. The only thing that's a bit of a problem is the battery life's not so great for the amount of photos that I take. But anyway, it's only about $30, $50 or something Australian. Anyway, enough of filming the floor. How about we get back onto the models? So let's move across the board here. We had the Tantalus here take out a Dreadnought that was sitting just there. He's the casualty just up the back here. That guy just there, he was taken out. We had the combination of these Dark Lancers from these 3 vehicles here take out a Rhino, which opened up and there was a unit of Space Marines in there, and then suddenly they got set upon by homunculi and racks aplenty. So they took out a few racks, but basically the Space Marines were decimated. We've only got the champion still sitting in there, ready to try and do what he can. Likewise, there was a group of Dark Eldar. They just charged in fanatically, and really they mostly died in doing that, but they engaged this group in combat, so that's probably what they intended to do. At the back of the board, there's still a couple of units of infantry here that basically just moved along this wall here. Basically they've secured, the Dark Eldar have secured this middle area here. They did take out a few Noise Marines from the middle there, but yeah, so there's got a lot more to go over there. Moving over this side, we had the Titan come and pop a, what did they take out? Took that tank just there. So he's just rampaging across the board, doing what it likes. The group of witches and the Beast Master, Mistress, whatever, came in and took out those the bikers that were sitting there. Not anymore. Moving over this side of the board, we've had some Scourges touch down and fired and took out one guy. We had a skiff, a raider come in and take out one as well. We had these 2 vehicles come and pop open a Rhino, and then they got fired upon by some Dark Eldar warriors. Tantalus over here took out the Obliterators that were hiding on top of that tower there. Not hiding, but just got caned anyway. Oh yeah, these guys here basically helped take out the bikers that were sitting there as well. So a lot going on this table at the moment, and my casualty section is chock-a-block. So we will see what happens next. We're up to turn 3 now, so halfway through the battle after the end of this turn, so keep watching. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn 3, and there's a lot on the board now. All the Slaanesh fighters are on the board, nothing in reserves. The Dark Eldar reserves. Well, there's still a bit left. All those are basically in skiffs, and we've got some Hellions that haven't come in yet. No doubt they'll come in next turn. So there's spot fires all over the board here. We'll work from one side of the board to the other. Over this side, we've had some Terminators touch down here and fire into the back of these infantry units here. Only taking out a couple of casualties there. Moving across the board, we had the Graded Demon and its retinue of Space Marines come in and reinforce this combat here with this Terminator against the Racks and the Homunculi, and that pretty much evens up that battle there. There was a little battle here with a couple of warriors left over, and these guys here just clean them up. Probably a big play over here is the Baneblade turned and took out the Tantalus that was just there. So their next target is probably going to be something like that, which is still causing mayhem across the board. These Marines here moved in and assaulted a group there. They were in a raider which was popped open by a couple of dreadnoughts there. Joe Hercules doesn't really know what he's doing. Came and hid behind that tower and now chasing this way. We'll wait and see what he wants to do. This group of Marines here tried to thin out this massive group of witches over there. They also got fired upon by the Terminators at the back there. This group of Demonettes and the Demon Prince assaulted the Beastmaster and associated beasts, cleaned them up. Moving across the board, the Titan was fired upon here, still holding up. Pretty tough, those things. Over here we had some Obliterators, more Obliterators touch down and fire into the Scourges just there, and that group is thinning out. Up this side of the board we've had this unit of Marines come in and clean up a group of Warriors. So overall, it's hard to call. Looks like that the Slaanesh army at the moment is taking control of the middle of the board, but there's still an awful lot to come in for the Dark Eldar. So we'll wait and see what they can do. Alright, that's the end of turn 3, the first half of turn 3. We'll see what happens next. Here we are at the end of the second half of turn 3, and the Dark Eldar have cut some swathes through the Chaos forces. So across the board we've got a lot of different spot fires going on. As you can see, the Titan still causing some havoc there. I'll get back to him in just a minute. But that's just a quick flyover of the board. Let's start up this side. So here we go. We've had the Mandrakes, Incubi, etc. charge into these Terminators here and basically took, I think, about 4 of them out. It looks fairly even at this stage. Maybe the Dark Eldar have got the upper hand. These Hellions just touch down over here, and when it comes to their next movement phase they might charge in and clean up those Terminators. Over this side we had some Dark Eldar warriors just get out of their transport, and they'll move and do their bit next turn. Moving across here, this combat still continued, and basically 4 Marines got taken out and a bunch of Racks. So that huge big pile of Racks that we had is looking smaller and smaller. Over this side we had 3 Dark Lance weapons fire on the Baneblade over there. Not quite taking it out, and they're looking fairly exposed there. They're not actually Dark Lances, there's a transport. I keep getting Raiders, Reavers and Ravagers mixed up. Well, I don't know why they make them start with R, but that's just the transport. That's the heavy weapon platform, and that's the the character, the named character, Vect. I can't pronounce his first name, but anyway. So they basically fired and tried to take out the Bane Blade, but they're looking very exposed there. Over this side we had this combat get reinforced by a group of warriors from back there. They charged in. There's only 2 Marines left there and a whole pile of warriors. This group of Base Marines or Chaos Marines hiding behind this tree there got fired upon by all those weapons platforms back there. What looked like an imposing group of Terminators back here got carved up by a couple of Talos engines there and an approaching group of Dark Eldar just there. So there's only 4 remaining there. Moving around this side of the board, we had a group of Chaos Marines just standing there, got fired upon by 1, 2, 3, and the Tantalus there 4. Only 1 guy, the Lord, remains. So over this side we had the Scourges just adjust themselves and fire and take out 1 Marine here. And the Titan smacked 2 vehicles there, only 1 remains. Over this side, Witches charged in, and there was 4 or 5 Demonettes there with that Demon Prince, and they got all taken out. So they're contesting fairly well there. So across the board you'd say that Dark Eldar have got the upper hand, but we've still got Joe, who's got no blood on his hands yet, his or her hands. We've got the Bane Blade, so we'll see what happens next turn. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn 4, and the Slaanesh forces have really taken a lot of casualties. That's all that's happened in this turn. We've got everything out from Deep Strike, from reserves I should say. So there's nothing for the Dark Eldar. Let's have a quick look at the board, moving across the table. So what we had here is this ongoing battle here with the Terminators, the Mandrakes and everyone else, and basically there was a few casualties from both sides. A few Mandrakes went down, and we've only got 3 Terminators left. They had the option, I guess, of pulling back, but what was the point? They're probably going to struggle getting assaulted by that in the next turn, so they thought they'd take out a few casualties on the way through. Moving across this side, we had this combat get joined. There was a group of Marines just there, Chaos Marines I should say. They charged in, took out everything, well not quite everything, there's still 3 homunculi there, but look, Chaos have pretty much taken control of that. We've got some warriors here, which we don't know what they're going to do next turn, but we'll wait and see. Moving across the board, the Bane Blade took out 2 skiffs. Not sure what they were now. Those two there. So they were taken out. There was a group of a few Marines there behind that tree. They came in and joined this fight over here and now control that area pretty much. We've got 4 Marines and 3 Dark Eldar, so we'll see how that's rolling out. These 2 Dreadnoughts, the tank there turned around and fired and took out, now it's Raiders, so the transports, right? Raiders. Still get it wrong, but anyway, there were 2 of those that went down. That's the contents there. So we had the Demon Prince that was in combat with the Witches there fall back just behind this tree here, and well, I suppose the play of the games to date is Joe Hercules finally gets his hands dirty and takes out the Titan. So Titan finally goes down, and that is all part of the machinations from the elder Farseer up there. That's what he was planning all along. So there you go, that's the, I suppose not a spoiler, you saw the battle last week, but anyway, that was the major thing that he wanted to accomplish. Anyway, over this side we had some fire from this tank, take out another radar. We had 2 obliterators and a few marines assault the Scourges, and they're all but gone. Over this side, the solitary Chaos Champion attacked a raider and split that open. So that's the contents there. So that's what we have. I suppose we've got the main thing is the Titans down. But look, the Dark Eldar still haven't been finished with yet. They've still got the Tantalus there, uninjured. You know, we've got the Baneblades probably on his last legs at this stage. So if that goes down, you know, there's still enough firepower on the other side to do some damage. So we'll see what happens. We've got the first half of turn 4 is out of the way. We've got the second half coming up shortly. Here we are at the end of the second half of turn 4, and there's a lot of thinning out of the board, except there's still a lot of Dark Eldar around the place. Let's look at this side. We've had a melee that was there. There was 3 Terminators, and these Hellions came in and assaulted from behind. The 3 Terminators went down, and the rest of these Dark Eldar units just dispersed around this area. These 3 remaining, there's 2 warriors there, they were in combat with these lot of Marines here. They just basically withdrew, as you can now in 8th edition I believe, and came over here and just did nothing. Probably the play of the turn, or one of the plays, was the Ravager, I believe, shot and took out the Baneblade. So that is a good move for the Dark Eldar. Over here the homunculi withdrew from combat here and just sat next to that tree, and these Dark Eldar warriors fired in and took out 1 Space Marine there. Space Marine, Chaos Marine, I keep saying that. Anyway, right, over this side of the board we had the Witches assault this Dreadnought. Didn't take it out, lost 2 Witches in the process. The Ravager there and the Venom Cannon try to take out this tank here to no effect. Over this side we had the Tantalus really try and take out Joe Hercules. Joe Hercules is on his last legs at this stage after doing combat with the Titan. Moving over this side we had the Scourges withdraw, and since they have effectively jump packs, I believe they can fire in that turn, and they fired in conjunction with these warriors here and took out 3 Marines, just leaving the obliterators there. We had some Dark Lance fire from here, didn't take out that tank there, still in progress. Over this side the Slaanesh Champion basically withstood the assault from that unit of Dark Eldar warriors, so that's still on its way. Over this side we had a combat with 3 Terminators left, but there's just the weight of numbers from the Dark Eldar just took it out, so the Terminators are now gone, and that's just the dispersed Dark Eldar warriors. So really we've got a lot of infantry for the Dark Eldar, but I suppose the thing going for the Chaos forces is, you know, we've still got Joe Hercules, who's, you know, in the form of a greater demon here and can do a lot of damage. Over this side, this unit looks small, but look at it. It's got, you know, 2 Chaos champions, a greater demon. You know, that should really do some damage on those Dark Eldar. So yeah, look, I don't know which way it's going to go, but look, we'll have to wait and see what happens in turn 5. Right, end of first half of turn 5. There's not a lot left on the board at this stage. I should mention that this is the end of the first phase of the actual battle. It's over 3 battles itself. I'll explain more of that later. But of this first phase, or the first battle, this is the end of turn 5, or at least the first half of it. So what we've had here, let's move over this side of the board. Starting here, we had a small battle here. We had one Chaos Champion in amongst these warriors. The champion took out 2 warriors and finally collapsed under the numbers. Over this side we had the 2 Obliterators charge into combat with those warriors and took a few of them out. We had this tank here fire upon 3 Scourges and took those out. Moving over this side, we had the Chaos Demon Prince come in and reinforce that combat there with the Witches and the Dreadnought. Don't suppose you can hear that train in the background. Anyway, moving across here, we had this tank here fire upon a Ravager, took it out over there. We had this Dreadnought here come in and take out a Ravager who was just hiding behind that tree, so basically just ran over that way, or as much as I could. Joe Hercules came and took out a Venom tank just there. So moving over this side of the board, we had this unit track down 3 Dark Eldar and clean up that group. Over this side we had the Great Demon come and take out 3 Homunculi, and over here the combined group of Chaos Space Marines, and there's 2 champions here, came and assaulted this unit of Dark Eldar warriors and all but cleaned them up. So really we've got some numbers on the Dark Eldar side, a lot of heavy firepower still on the Slaanesh side. So it could go really any way at this stage. I'm starting in my mind at this stage of the game to formulate what I'm going to do with the storyline elements, and it's going to obviously involve Joe Hercules here, so I'll work out what I have to do with that in just a minute. So stay tuned for the second half of turn 5 coming up shortly. Right, here we are at the end of turn 5, end of the second half of turn 5, and the Dark Eldar have really taken it to Joe Hercules and his minions. Probably the play of the round is the Tantalus here turning the corner and taking out Joe. Basically Joe was morphed with the relic, and now that shot basically split him from the relic. And up here there was some Eldar and Custodes. They've basically gone back into the city and are looking to maybe come out here and secure the relic. That's where it'll lead into turn, or phase 2, the second battle of this final. We still have one more turn to go after this. Anyway, let's look at the board. We had 4 Dark Eldar warriors that were in combat with these 3 here. They thought they'd turn tail and run. Came here and hid behind this tree. There was a greater demon that was there, and it got assaulted by all that. So basically got taken out. Over this side there was a combat between these Marines and the advancing Dark Eldar, the Mandrakes, etc. A couple of Mandrakes died and a couple of Marines died, so that's still underway. Moving over this side of the board, we had the raider basically move around here and take a shot at this tank here, didn't blow it up. There was this group of Dark Eldar that were in combat with these obliterators. They just ran away. These ones here shot at the obliterators. It's interesting how the different dynamics with 8th edition have never really had this withdrawing from combat, coming in, moving out. Hopefully it's, it looks about right, but it just seems to run differently than it used to. Anyway, moving here, we had this group here, just moved from here up to here. They're Dark Eldar warriors, and they had a shot at Joe in his previous form. This group of warriors assaulted the Dreadnought there. Dreadnought held up, that's still there, and this group over here just held behind that barrier there. So all in all, it's fairly evenly weighted. We've got one more turn to go. We'll see how that rolls out, and I'll continue this review into the second phase and explain that as it moves forward. Anyway, turn 6 coming up shortly. Okay, so one turn to go. Turn 6 is the final turn of the first phase of Season 5. So we've had Slaanesh have their turn, and we saw this tank here fire into a group of warriors that were there. Those warriors were then subsequently attacked by 2 obliterators, cleaning up that group entirely. Joe Hercules, in his reduced form, got angry and came around and took out the Tantalus. This Dreadnought here came and took out a raider that was kind of sticking out behind this tower here. And that's all on that side of the board. This Dreadnought decided to walk out of combat there because they had to encounter, thought that was a bit much to take on, so they came out here and fired a shot at what were a bunch of Hellions there. They got attacked by the tank here and also assaulted by these 2 guys, or there were 3, but they've been assaulted as well, so that cleans up that group. There was 2 Chaos Marines which were here. They jumped that hurdle there and ran away. So at this stage we've got some heavy armour still on the Slaanesh side, but still a few numbers left on the Dark Eldar side. So we'll do a tally at the end of next turn. We've got the last part of turn 6 coming up shortly. Well, there we have it. That's the end of turn 6, and there's hardly any models left on the board. The Dark Eldar have done very well here and cut large swathes out of the Joe Herculean army. Let's move over to this side of the board. We had this character here, I can't remember that guy's name. He was riding the Tantalus before. Came off over here and he joined this combat, charged in with the Dark Eldar warriors and took out 1 obliterator. So that combat is still ongoing. Oh well, it's basically still active at the end of the battle. Moving over this side, we had this group of Dark Eldar fire their weaponry at Joe, and obviously didn't take him out because Joe's Joe and all that. We had the Talos and this group of warriors come and take out the Dreadnought that was sitting there. There were 2 Slaanesh Space Marines there. They got assaulted by all that. They obviously died. And over this side there were 2 characters left here. There was a Terminator and just a champion, but they got assaulted by this combination here, so they got taken out. So overall we've still got a few units left for Slaanesh, for Joe's army, but overall we've got a lot of Dark Eldar here. So at this stage I will think of what to do with the storyline. So I think the plan here would be to have a character basically say, thanks for all the prisoners we've taken. The Chaos Space Marines will take them away and torture them. They might love it, but we'll see how they go with that. Joe is going to get furious because he's kind of got separated from the relic just there. He's going to come back this way. All this is going to come off the board as far as the models, and Joe's going to come and sit like back here, and he's going to summon wave 2 of his army, which I haven't got in here on the board yet, but I'll bring that in. At this stage we're going to have some custodies come bursting out of there, and a little thing with the Aeldari, and the Aeldari army, because there's going to be another Aeldari army come out here, and some custodies, so I'll see how that pans out. So we're going to have a Simhan Aeldari army with custodies allies versus Joe Hercules, and that'll be the last phase of this battle. And then I've got one little last final small battle to finish it all off, and that'll be the end of season 5. So that's the end of the first phase. Stick with me and we'll show the setup of the next phase. Here we are at the start of the second phase of the final battle. In this battle we've had Joe Hercules here, who split himself from the relic. He's left and mustered up some more Slaanesh demons and space marines, so really it's a smaller battle, this one. You know, here we've got Rhino, Soul Grinder, Joe, some demons on steeds. We've got some demonettes, and we've also got Fabius Bile there, another Rhino. Up in reserves we've got various Space Marine units. We've got a Demon Prince with wings or jetpack, some obliterators. Likewise on the Aeldari side, we've had the custodies and the Aeldari come out of the city there, and we've got some Hornets, Wraith Lord, Spirit Seer, some custodies. Moving over the other side we've got Viper, some Shining Spears, and a Farseer ready to do combat. So there you go, it's a smaller battle. It's the last phase of the final battle in season 5. There's a final little part at the end, but I'll cover that shortly. Anyway, we've got the first turn coming up shortly. Season 5 finale, phase 2. So we've had the first battle, full battle, Slaanesh versus the Dark Aeldari, and the relic is now sitting in the middle of the board, right here. Both armies deployed, and the Slaanesh army have had their turn. So nothing really happening at this stage in regards to, you know, firing weapons and things. We've had this Rhino just move behind this rock area here, just for a bit of cover. So that's sitting there ready to go. Soul Grinder's taken a prime position just behind this tower here, right next to the relic, ready to open up and take fire from various sources there. Over here we've had the Seekers come charging across the board, and Joe's taken cover right behind those units just there. So no firing on that side of the board. The same really goes over here. We've had the Rhino just come into position here behind this trench, and we've had Fabius Bile and his retinue just take a position behind the Rhino. So no firing just yet. We've got quite a lot in deep strike, as mentioned before. All these units here are inside tanks. We've got obliterators, and we've got the Demon Prince with jetpack. Anyway, that's it for the first half of turn 1. We'll see what happens next. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn 1. The Aeldari and the Custodies didn't actually take any casualties this turn, we had some jet bikes fly across the board, but the range is too far to actually fire into these, into the Rhino there or into the Demonettes. So they're just sitting there, biding their time. There was one shot just here that fired across and had a go at the Rhino, but these 8th edition rules, those tanks just seem to hold up a little bit better than normal. So it seems anyway, it does to me. Anyway, moving across the board, we had Custodes here, just advance up from that barricade to this barricade. They're just sitting there waiting for their opportunity. Spirits here over here just moved out behind that barricade and has just could have hid behind that barricade, but look, there's not a lot with ranged weaponry to really threaten it at this stage, so it sort of poked its head out. Moving over this side of the board, we had the 3 Hornets fire at the Soul Grinder to no effect. Oh, it didn't kill it. Anyway, and the Wraith Lord just hurdled that little barricade there, just sitting behind that little bit of cover there. So really not a lot of casualties. We had, you know, a couple of shots that hit the Soul Grinder and the Rhino, but not much else. So looking up here, we've got a lot to come onto the board. We've got some Obliterators, Demon Prince, and some aircraft. There's another one over there too. Anyway, so that's it. That's the end of the first half, actually the second half of turn 1. Hey subscribers, here we are at the end of the first half of turn 2. It's been a pretty busy week because we're coming to the end of season 5. We haven't got much more to go, and I've only really got, look, it's a small battle this second phase, and there's only a few models left on the board, but it's just like it's taking weeks because I'm trying to keep up to date with the editing. At the moment I'm editing Battle 20 and I have to upload that like next week, and after that I'm going to have a series of videos just probably cleaning up the room, getting ready for season 6, but look, I'll talk about that later. Anyway, back onto the board and seeing what's happening here. We've had Chaos have their turn, and Joe Hercules and his gang have moved across the board. Let's start over this side this time. We've got a Rhino full to the brim of Chaos Space Marines charging across the board. Tried to take out a Hornet over there, but to no effect. Just seems to be these vehicles seem to hold up a lot better. I said that last turn. Anyway, that'll no doubt change. We had Joe Hercules separate from this group here. They just hid behind this tower here. Try to free up and open up the middle for the Soul Grinder to come through. Anyway, so they charged over that way and they're hiding behind this tower. Joe Hercules by himself, hiding behind a tree. This here, the Soul Grinder, instead of going for the Hornets, turned around and took a couple of Custodes out who were hanging out the side of that. Over this side we had the other Rhino come in and fire into that group as well. Wasn't as effective as the Soul Grinder. You can see the Soul Grinder there, get a good look at him. I've got a couple of stills in the actual battle. Anyway, we had some deep striking units over here. We've got one more yet to come, 2 Obliterators to come down, but 2 came here and fired into the group there of Wind Riders, right? I called them Shining Spears before. Aeldari jet bikes, I think I might say. Anyway, we had Demonettes and Fabius Bile move up into position there, ready to engage. And we had the Demon Prince with the modified jetpack come in and take a position behind this tower. So overall, there weren't too many casualties. We've got 2 custodies and 1 jet bike as casualties. So that's all the casualties that there were. We've got 3 aircraft coming for the Aeldari next turn. 1, 2, 3. So all that's coming out. And really, I suppose, primary target would have to be at this stage Soul Grinder. A lot of the other stuff can be managed, I suppose. Anyway, we've got the second half of turn 2 coming up shortly. First half of turn 3, and this battle's taken weeks and weeks and weeks to do. It's not just that there's been so many models in the first phase and in this battle. It's just that this is the final battle of season 5, and it's been like a year putting this season together, so kind of dragging my feet a little bit on finishing it off. You know how you get to the finishing line sometimes and you just that 5% seems to take 25% to do. Anyway, enough about that. Let's just worry about the battle as such. We've had Slaanesh have their turn, and let's look at this side of the board. We had this Rhino here come flying around that corner and smash into a Hornet, taking it out. We had all those mounted demonettes over here with Joe Hercules in his non or semi-demonic form, I suppose you could say. Came in and charged the Wraith Lord there, and that is no longer. Over here we had the Chaos Space Marines charge in and try and take the Custodies out. It's fairly evenly balanced, that the Chaos Marines having the numbers and the Custodies and the Spirit Seer having the strength. Over this side of the board we had the Obliterators fire into one of the aircraft there. Didn't take it out, but we've got a flying Demon Prince here who finished the job, so we're down 1 aircraft for the Aeldari. Over this side we had Demonettes and Fabius Bile charge in to the Wind Riders and took out a few, but no doubt, I don't know what the Wind Riders are going to do. They could probably withdraw from that combat. We'll see what they're going to do next. But anyway, that's what we've got. One thing we are missing is there's 2 Obliterators up here who missed coming out this turn, so they'll come out next turn at the start of turn 4. So that is the end of the first half of turn 3. The second half coming up shortly. End of turn 3, and the Aeldari have really come back into it. Let's start over this side of the board. We had the Wind Riders here that were in combat with Fabius Bile there and 3 Demonettes. They just do what jet bikes do, fly back or just get out of combat and just vaporise those guys. Fabius is still sitting there waiting to do what he needs to do next turn. Anyway, Viper was here, flew over there, shot 1 Demonette there. Demonette on steed, I should say. Over this side we've had the aircraft fly across the board and they took out a Rhino, spilling all the Chaos Space Marines out of the Rhino. So that's what they did. The Hornets, 2 remaining Hornets over here. They jumped the barrier, flew across the barrier, skimmed across and fired at a Demonette down there. So that Demonette, those Demonettes on steeds, there's only 1, 2, 3, 5 remaining. In the middle here we've got this combat that's going between these Chaos Space Marines and the Custodes. That's just, they're going toe to toe. It's fairly evenly balanced. There's 3 Custodes left plus the Spirits here versus 1, 2, 3, 6 Chaos Space Marines. So that will keep going. So we've only got 2 Obliterators yet to come out onto the board. So they'll come out next turn and then everything's out. Then they'll slug it out till turn 6. Alright, we've got turn 4 coming up shortly. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn 4, and we had 2 Obliterators touch down just here, and they immediately fired and took out 1 aircraft, leaving 1 remaining. Over this side we had the Marines advance and try and fire on these Hornets, but really they couldn't assault them because of that barrier there, and they couldn't quite make the distance, so they just fired what they've got and didn't take it out. Anyway, that's sitting there. Moving over this side, we had this mounted Demonettes. Basically they were back here, they just moved as fast as they could trying to reinforce this combat over here, but couldn't quite make the distance. They're fairly exposed, but at the same time the Marines here, the Chaos Marines, basically just remained in combat and went toe to toe with the Custodes. Even though their numbers have dropped considerably, they're just trying to tie them up, so hopefully these guys can charge in and clean them up. We had the Demon Prince charge in and take out the Viper. We had over this side Fabius Bile didn't want to do a kamikaze run and run into all that, tucked away behind this tree here and popped a shot off there. Likewise the Obliterators fired and took 1 out as well, so those ranks are thinning. So that's the end of turn 4. We'll see what happens at the end of turn 4 in just a minute. Okay, end of turn 4, and what we've had here is we've had the Wind Riders move up, take out 2 Obliterators that were sitting there. They've pretty much cleaned up this side of the board. All they've got to contend with now is Fabius there. Moving into the middle of the board, we've had the Custodes and the Spirits here do combat with the remaining Chaos Marines, and with those high strength gauntlets there, took them out. So they're sitting there. We had aircraft fire over here taking out the Demon Prince, so that has cleaned that area up. And the Hornets really caught in no man's land there. They had to do something. They could have either fled that way, or they chose to just sit there and fire and take out 2 Demonettes on steeds. But now they're fairly exposed to an assault from the side from those Marines. So anyway, they've cleaned up a lot. It's fairly evenly balanced. we've got turn 5 coming up shortly. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn 5, and Chaos have had their turn. We had Fabius Bile charge into the Wind Riders there and took out 2, and that's just ongoing, so we'll leave that where it is. Joe Hercules charged in with his Demonette steeds and took out 2 Custodes and controls that combat fairly well. Over this side we had 2 Obliterators take out an aircraft that was just sitting there, and over here we had the Marines finally assault one of the Hornets and taking that out. So it's really looking fairly bleak for the defenders, the Aeldari and the Custodes, but we've still got a turn and a half to go, so we'll see what happens next. Okay, end of turn 5. The Aeldari, or what's left of them, are really just trying to hold back the tide. Looking at the board, we had the last remaining Hornet, which was up there, fly around here and take out an Obliterator that's just there, but that Hornet is fairly exposed from multiple fronts. Marines, you've got Joe there and an Obliterator there, so it's not looking so good. The Spirit Seer, being a bit of a chicken, went back, was in combat with these guys, fell back behind that little barrier there, and over this side the Farseer, etc., set back and fired upon Fabius Bile and took him out, so they control that side of the board. So really, as far as the order goes, we've got that, that and that, and we've got turn 6 coming up. Not too many models left on the board. This is the end of season 5. Stay tuned. Well, here we are at the end of the first half of turn 6, and look, it's looking pretty well all over for the Aeldari. Joe Hercules was sitting there, had a choice to go and take out the Farseer, but really we had some problems here because the Obliterator and that group of Marines tried to take out the Hornet that was there, and it required Joe to turn away from that and charge in and take it out to sort of clear this area around this objective here, which is what the whole reason for this battle is to try and secure that relic there. So Joe and his group of Chaos minions have secured the relic effectively. We have one more turn left for the Aeldari. They control this side of the board. We've got the Spirit Seer just there and the group of jet bikes just there. I really can't see them doing too much damage to what's over here, but we'll go through the motions nonetheless. We've got the last half of turn 6 and the last part of season 5 coming up shortly. Well, there we have it. That's the end of turn 6 part 2, and that's the end of season 5. We have seen the Spirits here come out from behind that barrier there and take out a Demonette that's mounted. We've seen the Wind Riders come up and take out another Demonette. Doesn't change the fact that Chaos have taken the relic back. At this stage I will do a short story element tidying up season 5, and then I'll be doing a few more short videos, and then I'll probably take a month off at this stage, just preparing for season 6. I'm already well into that, but as you can appreciate, it's a lot of work to do, and then after that's done, I'm not sure an exact date yet, we will get into season 6. So there we are. Hope you've enjoyed season 5, the Chaos Relic. It's been a blast to do. I hope to see you all for season 6 coming up shortly.